Hello and happy Wisdom on Wednesday. I have decided, at the encouragement of a very good friend of mine, to share some tidbits of wisdom on Wednesday via video rather than in writing. And I think that sometimes I'll probably still do it in writing because, as you know, I love words and love to put them down on paper. But I thought it might be fun to also share um, in a more personable way where you can see my facial expressions, which is such an important part of communication. So, this very first video, Wisdom on Wednesday, is dedicated to Peter Murphy, a former student of mine who I love very much and who has always been an encouragement to me. So, here we go. I'm going to talk about a very common topic that people like to talk about, which is happiness. And I think that, especially in this contemporary era, where a lot of people for a long time in our culture were working in jobs that they did not find fulfillment in, and in some cases dedicated 30, 40, maybe 50 years of their adult lives to working for particular companies and pursuing a career, I guess, in something that didn't satisfy them. And I believe that part of the reaction to that has been a very long discussion of finding your passion and trying to make it so that the job that you do on a daily basis for possibly a large majority of your life is something that you enjoy and that brings you a sense of fulfillment. And I think there's a lot of positive things about that. If there's a possibility of doing something during those hours of work that matters to you and that makes you feel a sense of something greater than yourself, that you're part of that, I think that's incredible. And I am incredibly, incredibly fortunate to have a job that gives me that. I love teaching. I have always loved teaching. It's something I wanted to do since I was a child. And it is something that continues even after many, many years of teaching to bring me a great deal of joy. And so that's a good thing. And if you're fortunate enough to have that happen for you, I think that you're a very, very blessed person. And if there's a way that as you are younger, that you can find a way to tap into what you're most curious about and think about what you want your life story to be about, and try to find a career or a job or a path or a story that allows you to find something more in work than only a way to pay the bills. Please do that. It's a fortunate thing, and it is something that we have probably more control over than I think we realize. There's a certain intentionality that is necessary to have your short-term goals, one day at a time, one step at a time, lead to something larger and something longer term. And the more you can correlate what you do on a daily basis to your long term vision for what you want your life to be like, the more likely I think it is that there can be some sort of a passion that you have for your work. However, I do want to say that I don't think that having a passion for your work is all about the work. I think it is much more so about who you are as a person. It is about whether you're a passionate person. And the idea that you're going to have this one singular passion in life that's going to drive you and constantly bring you fulfillment if you can do that one thing, I think that that's a misnomer. I think that at many different parts of life, there are things that spark passion within us, and that it is your character as a human being, whether you've decided to live passionately or live in a more kind of passive or complacent or chill, maybe just chill way, or not to get as excited about things. And I have found that whatever I have chosen to do at each season of my life, that I can put passion into it, and it comes from a source within me, and that it is more of a mark of my character than necessarily that it is only about that thing that I am doing. And so, in many ways, I was passionate about everything in my life. I'm passionate about my marriage, about my children and raising them in a certain way, passionate about my work, absolutely, passionate about living out my faith, passionate about developing friendships. I'm very passionate about my hobbies, which are reading and writing and walking and doing other things. And so I really think that it's more about what I am like as a person, and I'm bringing that to everything that I do. Okay, so how in the world does this relate to happiness? Well, of course, what you do with your time is going to affect how happy or not happy you are. And I'm going to confess that I don't really care for the word happiness that much. And I don't know the etymology of the word or all of the history of where the word happiness comes from, but it sounds an awful lot like happens. And that idea that what is happening is what is going to bring me happiness. And that if I can just sort of control all of the happenings in my life, the circumstances of my life, as much as possible to create the greatest degree of happiness that I can achieve, or even this idea of sort of seeking happiness as the ultimate goal of life, it doesn't do it for me. It's just not enough. I think that happiness is very fleeting, and I do not think it has a sustainability to it. There are some times of life that are really sad and really disappointing. And sometimes there are long stretches of time in your life where you're really planting a lot of seeds, doing a lot of hard work, and you might not feel happy, but you are producing the groundwork for something amazing that can come later. And I might not be happy during that entire time in that sort of emotional sense. I might actually be really burdened, even, or working really laboriously and feeling exhausted. And still, even in that, I can feel extremely satisfied. And when you do that and you plow the field and plant the seed and wait, there is a fruitfulness and a harvest that can come later that is incredibly, incredibly rewarding and fulfilling. And that's the word that I really wanted to get to. It's the word fulfillment. I think that seeking fulfillment is so much more meaningful than seeking, per se, happiness. And I'm a very happy person. I try to have an optimistic attitude every day. I smile genuinely at people because I love them and I care about them, and there's something inside of me that I want to share with them. I try very hard to make the people around me happy. And it's a great thing to feel happiness. I'm not downplaying that, but for me, it's just honestly, it's not enough. I want something else. I want something deeper. And the best thing I can say is that if you could combine, I think the English word for joy with the English word for fulfillment, that those two definitions coming together are maybe what some people mean when they say that they want to be happy, that they're seeking happiness. But I like those words a lot better. And I think that happiness is a lot about circumstances, what I'm doing, what I'm not doing, whether it's sunny outside or isn't sunny outside, whether I'm having an enjoyable, fun time, whether everything's okay. And those are all great things, but long term, what I want is something coming from within me, a sense of deep, deep joy. And that comes from contentment. It comes from deep and meaningful relationships. It comes from feeling a clean conscience and knowing that I've done what is right and what I'm supposed to do. Feeling like I'm walking out my vocation and I am right with the people in my life. And then also that I have a sense of purpose, and that whatever I'm doing for work, whatever I'm extending that passion within me towards, however I'm spending my time, that those things matter and that they have meaning to me, and that I feel like were I to die tomorrow, that I spent today doing something that mattered to me and loving the people that I love. More than anything, that's really what it's all about. And I think that's what brings me the greatest sense of peace and satisfaction, is loving and being loved and knowing that no matter whether I'm happy or not, I have joy inside of me and that I am fulfilled. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And if you feel like sharing this, I'd love to share my thoughts with whomever you think might like to hear them. Thanks.